almost every other day when I would pick up the newspaper, it was there. I myself have been a survivor of child sexual abuse, although now I call myself a thriver because my journey from survivor, from victim to survivor, and now thriver has been quite a journey as well. I think what I saw over there, I have never ever seen in my entire life. And when I say this, I mean I've seen fetuses in boxes. I have seen, this is all in the garbage I'm talking about. Okay, when the garbage has been dumped, literally, my camera crew and I used to sometimes just stay so silent after we shot because there were no words. We were so drained from the experience of shooting a woman who was murdered. We were shooting her sister and looking at the children cry and talk about it. I've been working with children for the last 10 years now. And children are suffering and people are not aware. So it's like there is so much of mental health issues that young children are suffering. And we need to look at them and they need to be seen and heard.
Hi, welcome to the Mohua show. My name is Mohua Chinappa and I am an author, entrepreneur and ex-housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी से. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Insia Dariwala. She's an acclaimed international filmmaker and a child rights activist. I'm extremely excited about this podcast because I've been trying to get in touch with her. And finally, this has come together. She's also the founder of the Hands of Hope Foundation, which aims to raise awareness about sexual abuse in various communities. Insia has directed many films, impactful films that we are going to talk to Insia about, like the Candyman and Till Death Do Us Part. She's recognized for her work on child sexual abuse in India, leading to significant legislative changes. Wow, Insia. So, Insia, it is an honor for me to have you here today on my podcast. And thank you so much for being here.
I'm humbled that you took me on this podcast. I keep seeing your work and I really love your poetry and all that you do. So the feeling is mutual.
Thank you so much, Insia. So, Insia, let's just talk a little bit about your stint as a copywriter, in New York, where you were internationally acclaimed, recognized as a filmmaker. Could you just share a little bit of the transition?
Sure. So, they didn't just happen in that order. I was in New York and I lived there, and I was working as a junior copywriter. And then I moved out of there to India, like I would say in 2004. And it was a transition that, was done due to personal reasons. But then when I came here, I got myself back in the advertising game, joined some advertising agencies. However, I think my transition into films happened the day I made my first television commercial. And I knew that, it was such a joy to see my characters come live. And I knew that I wanted to go into the scripting part of films. And that's how my journey into film started. But I think 2008, again, due to personal reasons, I had to quit my job at a production house. And I think God works in wondrous ways. I quit my job and I was a single parent then. I had to. So I had to take care of my child. He was my priority. And so I quit my job. And when I had nothing to do, I made my first film, which is The Candyman. And that was on child sexual abuse. And it all very, magically and in a very divine conspiracy it happened that actually set the stage for my journey into this space. So that's my story in a nutshell when it comes to the transition.
What inspired you to make Candyman?
So Candyman, I'm sure, Mohua, even you are aware that the news of children being sexually abused is not something that is rare. Almost every other day when I would pick up the newspaper, it was there. I myself have been a survivor of child sexual abuse, although now I call myself a thriver because my journey from victim to survivor, and now thriver has been quite a journey as well. And it just kind of, it was something that came to me. I'd written a script But in the script, I had first put a girl child who was sexually abused. And however, in the journey of me researching for that film, I came across many men who were also abused as children. And so that's what made me switch my character from a girl to a boy. And I thought that someone has to speak up about male child sexual abuse as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's not spoken too much.
Yeah,
It still doesn't have a lot of, I think people still hesitate to talk about male sexual child abuse because men themselves don't want to come forward. Young boys don't want to come forward thinking that it will reduce the manhood in them, you know?
yes,
Yeah. So your work spans across various mediums, right? You've done, theater, you've done street plays, puppetry, animation. Wow. And how do you decide, which medium to use for a particular project? Which one do you think works well? Especially these, given the subjects that they are so deep, they are so complex, they're so layered.
right. So, I think, it has been a very organic process, Mohua. It's not something that I have preempted and gone into it. I think about a topic that I want to pick up, and an issue that I want to work with. And in those days, when I did the puppetry animation video, I did not have any means. I was single handedly running my organization, and the only weapon I had was my creativity. So there was nobody else, there were no funds, and it just felt that, I need to collaborate now. So, what I did is I did a barter system. I went into colleges that had designing and films as their basis, and I collaborated with the students. So the puppetry animation video was a collaboration with Pearl Academy, and I mentored them on the film script. And in the end, they gave me a finished product, which was Raju and Tara, and that was the first regional puppetry animation video on safe and unsafe touch.
Wonderful, my God, amazing. You've also been instrumental, in addressing a lot of core social issues, through your films and the international documentaries that you've done. So, can you share one project, that has had a very profound impact on your personality, on how it touched you deeply?
Very difficult question actually, because all the topics that I have delved into have been extremely sensitive and difficult. So when I was working for a production house in 2010, I was doing a documentary film on the dumping yards of Devnar, and this is in Mumbai. It used to be one of the largest dumping yards in Asia, and I think what I saw over there, I have never ever seen in my entire life. And when I say this, I mean I've seen fetuses in boxes. I have seen, this is all in the garbage I'm talking about. Okay, when the garbage has been dumped, I have seen children eating feces, while they are swimming. I've seen a child reach into the garbage and pull out something and eat, and it wasn't food. I've seen a lot of that. That film, unfortunately, never released, but I do feel that it would have made a very, very big impact on people and how they see, scavengers and how they see people who collect our garbage. So that left a very deep impression on me. But most recently, I think the film that really impacted me was the domestic violence film that I did in Andhra Pradesh. The brutality of the abuse that women are facing over there, the domestic violence victim, those cases were really something that shook me up. Like literally, my camera crew and I used to sometimes just stay so silent after we shot because there were no words. We were so drained from the experience of shooting a woman who was murdered. We were shooting her sister, and looking at the children cry and talk about it, it was extremely difficult. So yeah, uh, I chose a very difficult, uh, I wouldn't say path, but it chose me actually. Let's put it that way.
Your campaign on male child sexual abuse has led to very significant policy changes in India, right? Can you share a little bit about this campaign and the impact that it had? It'll be wonderful for me to know from you, Insia.
Sure. So in 2017, Mohua, what happened is I was, like I said, working alone in communities and in slums. and I was meeting a lot of children who were sexually abused. And in my whatever I was witnessing on the ground, contrary to what uh, the idea was about child sexual abuse, where girls are only abused, that changed tremendously when I started working on the ground. And I came across many victims that were boys. So when I started working with them in the slums, I saw the aggression that a lot of children had. And when I started digging deeper, it turned out that they were all sexually abused. So I started thinking that is there a correlation between the increasing numbers of rapes and sexual abuse that's happening in India and the unresolved trauma on boys? So I put up a petition with the help of change.org at that time, and the petition was directly to the union minister. Mrs. Maneka Gandhi was the union minister then. And the ask was that there has to be a in-depth study that is done on male child sexual abuse. And whatever analysis comes out of it, we should definitely look at the correlation. So my ask was that the victim compensation scheme should become gender neutral, because a child is a child. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. So it was a 1-year journey, and there were lots of ups and downs, and there was a lot of push and pull. But eventually, with the help of I call it my tribe now, the Unguru collective that is there, and change.org at that time with my petition, I think overnight I got 189,000 signatures on that. And it also was picked up by every media house around the world, because for the first time somebody was speaking up for male child sexual abuse. So the pressure was so much that eventually in 2018, the ministry announced the victim compensation scheme to become gender neutral. And this was accompanied with a photo campaign called End the Isolation. And the men, 5 men came forward and they shared their stories. So that was the impact.
Wow, Insia, just I mean, I'm speechless because it takes so much, to really delve deep down inside, to go out there and share these stories and work, in community projects that can have so many challenges. So, will you just share with us and our listeners what are the kind of challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them if somebody wants to embark, on this area?
Yeah, so I think it's an ongoing journey, Mohua. Like I said, I don't think you ever overcome anything. You just meet the crisis, you look at it in the face, you kind of adjust according to the situations. I have been blessed. My collaborations have really worked. There are certain organizations that work within the communities and slums. So me executing my projects over there was much easier, I would say. However, challenges are always there. There was always a pushback from the community, and anything to do with the word sex, how it is taken, right? How it is received. We had to kind of switch to personal safety education. And my play really helped. I think the street play was a game changer for all the work that we did with the communities, because we were not preaching anymore. We just put up a skit and we presented it to the crowd, and they lapped it up in the best way they could. So what they were seeing is perhaps what they had already seen in their neighborhood, and it was not something that we were making up. And so it impacted so well that we did 23 shows. We have done 23 shows so far. And we have a lot of people joining hands now with us. So yeah, I mean, challenges are there, but I think if you really want to do something, and you want to see the change, what you need to do is engage with the community without being agnostic about it. So that helps.
So your film, Say No to Pain, reached 1 billion people. So this is for our listeners. Insia's film, Say No to Pain, reached 1 billion people in just 6 months. So how do you think that you made this campaign so successful? And tell us a little bit about Say No to Pain.
Sure. So the project Say No to Pain, I did it with. I was commissioned by Hollywood Health and Society, which is based out of Los Angeles. And they are an organization that supports, or rather, they produce films that are have got some connection with a social issue, or something that they can incorporate. So they marry entertainment with information, and they wanted to speak about the taboos around morphine, because in India, every year, around more than 10 lakh people are dying out of unmanageable pain. Because they cannot manage pain, they are dying. And this is a fact that nobody really talks about or knows about. So when we did our research and we saw the taboos around morphine, because it's considered to be a narcotic, we dug deeper, we met hospitals, and morphine is usually used for, to terminal illness patients, with terminal illness patients. And it is to also talk about palliative care. So palliative care, I mean, for the viewers who don't know what palliative care is, it is a, I would say, a holistic approach to pain, where you are not only just looking at the person who's a patient, but also looking at his family structure. Are they capable of financial support? Are they capable, like, God forbid, if the person dies, is his family going to be well equipped with managing the expenses after his death? So palliative care looks at all that, and the film was about that. And I think we made the film, and United Nations and World Health Organization screened it in 11 countries after that. And in India, it was released in 108 theaters. So that's how, with the help of the mass outreach on social media and theaters, we reached 1 billion people for that.
Wow, 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 Insia. As a child rights advocate, what are some of the key issues that you believe need immediate attention, in today's world?
World's children are suffering, and we all are seeing how.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yes.
So I would say, without any doubt, today children are in dire need of, a lot actually, but I think the physical and mental health of a child is not being looked at. And why go abroad or in any other country? I've been working with children for the last 10 years now, and children are suffering, and people are not aware. So it's like there is so much of mental health issues that young children are suffering, and we need to look at them, and they need to be seen and heard. I think that is the major issue, because once the mental health aspect is touched upon and addressed, perhaps the physical also, because I believe that it's a manifestation of what you feel mentally that happens in the physical space. So
Absolutely.
that needs to be checked in immediately, because we have so many suicides happening with young children. So yeah, malnutrition. So they need good nutrition. They need a lot of health, support. Definitely try and do our best to put an end, or at least prevent child sexual abuse, because right now India is number one for child sexual abuse, just because of the sheer numbers of the population. So definitely work on that, have more preventive measures rather than, curative measures. So yeah, just a few to name, but many. I have so many inside of me.
You've received lots and lots of numerous awards for your work. So, which one holds a very special place in your heart? And why does it hold a very special place?
So I am taking the liberty of showing this award. The reason being, it was my first award for the first film that I directed. And I never ever, my journey did not begin as a director, it began as a writer. And when I went into direction, obviously there were a lot of self doubts. So when I got this Best Director award, it was like the biggest validation for my role as a director. It was the universe telling me, go for it, you will do well in this space. So that award holds a very special place. It was for the Candyman, actually.
Oh, wow. So amazing. You've also been featured as one of the 100 most inspiring women of India in a book called The Phenomenal She.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I've been thinking ever since I read that question, Mahua, I've been thinking, how does it feel? And Spider-Man's, a dialogue from the film Spider-Man comes to mind, which is, with great power comes great responsibility. And so I feel very responsible. I feel that all these awards and all the accolades that I have got, yes, it is a validation of all that I've done, but it's also telling me that there's so much more to do. and I need to move with, that kind of, it has to be a move that is intentional now. So yeah, I feel very responsible for everything that now is going to happen or has been
You
happening.
are responsible, Insia. Otherwise, you would have not been where you are. You're basically an extremely responsible person with your,
Now,
yeah.
Mahua, that you say that, now my responsibility towards myself is also increasing. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. Yeah, no more burnouts.
You've been a part of the film industry for many, many years now, and you've just seen the entire evolution. So let's just talk about the advent of digital platforms. I mean, it's been such a game changer, right? And so tell me, what is it that, how do you think that the industry has really evolved? Do you think that it has evolved? Are they addressing social issues with more honesty? Or do you think we are still far, far away?
So let me start with the fact that let's applaud the industry for the strides that they have made, first of all, because where we are at today, we didn't expect it to be, and the advent of OTT has made that possible.
Yes.
So I have seen a lot of changes from when I started with the kind of films that were coming out, or even when I was a child, actually. So that journey in seeing the evolution of cinema has been quite an interesting space to be in. And I just feel that it has opened up a lot more opportunities for writers, for new actors. There is no chip on the shoulder that you have to be of a certain kind, or you have to look a certain way to be in a film anymore. Because most characters that you see in OTTs, they are like the guy next door or the girl next door, and
Yes.
they are very endearing characters. So today I feel content is king, and that's where everybody's focus is on, which is a very good move. And I do see us getting better. Yes, it's going to take a long time, because as they say, Rome was not built in a day. So
Yes.
we took so many years to get here, and we'll take some more years to get on the other side. But I do feel that it has changed quite a bit. It's a good change.
You worked in both fiction and non-fiction. So, which one do you find more challenging, and why do you find it more challenging?
So my latest film, Mohua, has shown me that even fiction can be very, very challenging. Like on a documentary, when you're making a documentary, right? Anything can happen, and we are always prepared. My recent film taught me that anything can happen even in fiction. You can't do anything about it. So I think each project has its challenges. It does not matter whether it's a fiction or a non-fiction. It's the challenges, the nature of the challenges are different, because in a documentary film you don't really have a script that you stick to, or you don't have like a perfect roadmap, because in non-fiction, as we know, sometime a character might just come and say that, hey, I don't want to interview today, or I'm fallen sick, I can't do anything, or left town, for all you know. In fiction, that doesn't happen. You have their dates.
Mhm.
But in my recent film, something really funny happened, where the child artist said, I just don't want to act. And this was at my climax scene. So this was a 6-year-old kid. And trust me, it was such a big challenge. So I have changed my mind now. Fiction, non-fiction, it doesn't matter. It's if it is a challenge, if Murphy's law is at play, you're screwed.
Insia, this is really funny. A 6-year-old actor refusing to act.
Just have to do. I don't. I want to go home. And what are you going to do? No bribe helped. Nothing helped.
Can you share a little bit about your upcoming projects and what issues do you want to highlight? You aim to highlight actually in the upcoming projects.
There are quite a few things that I am working on right now, and I am very focused on the writing part right now. So there is, they are not totally about social issues as such, but they do touch. So what I have discovered in my journey is that, if you focus that this is going to be about a social issue, then it just becomes that, right?
Mm.
I want to now make films that are also that are talking about a human journey. And then in that space, if something like a social norm is getting touched, so be it. Like Lapata Ladies, uh, a very lovely film. right? And I just feel that every character, they knew exactly, what their world was like, and they did what they had to. It was a very organic film. So
Absolutely.
I feel those are the kind of films that actually might probably be something that I would be interested in making, because my roots are from the village. I'm a village girl, and I if I go back to my roots, I have so much to talk about. So yeah, I think you'll be seeing hopefully soon some of my stuff, and hopefully you write about it.
Absolutely, totally, I shall. I just recently saw a film by Pulkit Arora called Anu on Mubi, and that really touched me. It is a very, I just wrote about it actually in She the People. It's a 13-minute, it's a short. And, it touched on a subject like grief and bereavement very beautifully. So, yes, I mean, I'm really looking forward to your work. Lastly, what advice would you like to give young filmmakers, who aspire to use their work to highlight social issues?
I don't think I have advice, but what I would like to tell the youth is that, being that we are in a space now where there's so much that can be done through social media and OTT, you do not have to wait for an opportunity to come to you. I mean, there are so many things that can happen just with your phone on a phone camera. So, if you are going to be thinking that, okay, I'm going to, wake up one day and there's going to be an ideal space for me to make my film on what I want to make, that I think is a very um, utopian thought. Because as budding filmmakers, I feel the best way to do what you want to do is just start. Don't wait, just start. Just go ahead, take your camera, get people who can. I mean, there are so many actors now who just want to make explore spaces in short films. Just approach them. So yeah, just do it. Nike, just go for it.
So, thank you so much for being on today's podcast, Insia. It was an absolute honor to have you. We look forward to many more films with a lot of social impact. Women like you are the torchbearers for change in society, and may your tribe increase. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless you.
God bless you too.
To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services: Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk imandari se.